Hey, it's Ken. This morning we're in a public park, so you might hear vehicles traveling on the highway, or you might hear people talking in the background. So today I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. I'm going to talk about opinion, my opinion. Okay, my opinion. Here recently, the Army has gone through all the steps to design a new caliber and rifle to go along with that caliber, and that's the 6.8 SPC. I have a picture of it for you here. This is the 6.8 and this is the 5.56, and as you can see, they're somewhat similar, but the 6.8 is bigger than the 5.56, and that's going to come into play here as we go along. It's my opinion that the design of the 6.8 SPC and a rifle to go with it is probably the biggest waste of money since the Army developed the Sergeant York anti-aircraft gun. If you don't know what that is, then go look it up. All right, but here we have the Army developing this new rifle in a new caliber, and it could take a decade easily to fill this thing, and for no purpose. Okay, we got to fill new magazines. They have to determine what's going to be the amount of cartridges you can carry in that magazine. Then there's going to be, do they fit the new, do the new magazines fit the old pouches, or are we going to have to redesign pouches so we have new pouches for the new magazines? And it just goes on and on and on and on for no reason. Now, what the Army said was that because of the issues that we're seeing during the GWAT with the 5.56, they wanted to develop a new cartridge. Well, and that part is true. Okay, so we're beyond the opinion piece now. We're going to start talking about stuff that happened. That part is true. There were a lot of issues with the 5.56 during the GWAT. There were times when certain events happened. I'm not going to say specifically what that was, but certain events happened that caused people to doubt the 5.56 as an effective combat round, which brings us to a little side discussion of maximum effective range. Well, maximum effective range is the range where you can hit a point target over iron sights, and that projectile or that bullet still has enough muzzle velocity to cause a casualty. Okay, so there were issues with that in the 5.56 and the M4 in the GWAT. But here's the problem, or here's the issue rather. The issue is not that you need a new cartridge or a new gun. That's not the issue. The issue with the 5.56 in the GWAT is the M4. You got an M4 5.56 weapon system with a 14.5 inch barrel. Well, here's the problem. The maximum effective range of a 5.56 from a 14.5 inch barrel is 300 yards. There were issues in the GWAT. I know certainly for sure they had issues in Afghanistan. I don't know what kind of issues they had in Iraq, but in Afghanistan they had issues where the 5.56 coming from being shot from a 14.5 inch barrel at 300 meters was not effective. It was not effective. Okay, so that's the question. Do we need a new cartridge and a new rifle with a 15-inch barrel? Because the 5.56 shot from a 14.5 inch barrel is ineffective or somewhat ineffective at 300 yards. Okay, so if you can't guarantee a casualty, then you have a problem. But I don't think it's not necessary to solve that problem by going through all this research when you created the problem in the first place. And the answer or the solution to this problem is already known. Now, in the previous video, we were talking about offensive handgun, and I said it's all about the barrel length. All right? It's all about barrel length. If you want an offensive pistol, and you need to take, then if you're going to carry, in my opinion, if you're going to carry a pistol, it needs to be an offensive handgun, a full-size service pistol, so you can take a 50-yard shot if you need to, or when you need to. The same is true for the 5.56. The shorter you make the barrel, the less your maximum effective range is. And that, I guess, is my point. There's no reason to go through all these initiations of creating a new cartridge, a new rifle to go with that cartridge, when all you have to do is replace the barrels on the M4 and make them all 16 inches. And then you would have a rifle that, once again, is effective, a maximum effective range out to 500 yards. Now, maybe you believe that, maybe you don't, but let's take a look at the Marine Corps as part of our example. They themselves have produced a new rifle, but they didn't change calibers. All they did was extend the barrel length to 16.5 inches. Now, I don't know a lot about the M27 that the Marines have fielded. I know it comes in various barrel lengths. I know there's an 18-inch barrel, there's a 16.5-inch barrel, and then there's a 14-inch barrel that supposedly goes to reconnaissance units. I'm not sure which one the Marine Corps fielded. I don't know if they fielded the 16.5-inch barrel or the 18-inch barrel, but I know the standard was supposed to be a 16.5. And that's how you solve the problem with the 5.56. The issue with the 5.56 was not that it's an ineffective round. The issue is that they reduced the barrel length to such a point it was no longer effective at 500 yards. It was only effective at 300 yards. I mean, when you're shooting a target at 300 yards, and then you have a hit, but then your target gets up and walks off, that's not a good thing. And that's something you don't want to shoot or see when you're shooting a rifle, when you're firing a rifle. If you have a target hit, you want to see the target go down and the target stay down. You don't want to see him get up and walk off. So once again, the issue with the 5.56 is not that it's ineffective. The issue is we make it ineffective when we start making the barrel length less than 16 inches. And I do think it's interesting that the minimum barrel length is 16 inches without getting a stamp, paying extra to get a stamp for an AR, which is what you need anyway, right? What you need anyway. So Am I saying that you're going to be taking 600-yard shots in if shit hits the fan and you need to use your AR? No, I'm not. You know, around where I live, you know, there are places you can take a 600-yard shot, but in most cases, you know, 300 meters is good to go. However, if you do need to take a 500-yard shot or a 400-yard shot, your AR with the 14.5-inch barrel or the 10.5-inch barrel, it's just not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. Like I said, it's my opinion that the development of the 6.8 SPC and the new rifle to go with it, man, that's a big waste of money when we already have proven systems that work. And it's not like the 6.8 SPC is the holy grail, right? It's more like in my opinion, it's like the Sergeant York anti-aircraft gun. It's pretty, looks good, you know, it's effective, but really, what are we doing? Why are we producing a system that is an anti-aircraft gun in the age of missiles? That doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense at all. Now, I feel the same way about the 6.8 SPC. You have a problem, but instead of looking at the problem and trying to correct the problem, you just say, well, this is worthless. We're going to move to something new. Okay, fine. But you didn't have to do that. All you have to do is extend your barrel length. And the new, if the new rifle, Army's rifle for the 6.8 SPC is 15 inches, and the Marine Corps' the standard barrel length for the Marine Corps' M27 is 16.5 inches, and your rifle is 16 inches, well, guess what? You're in the game. You've got the same rifle barrel length that, you know, I guess there are some instances, some cases where, you know, the 1 extra inch between 15 and 16 makes a difference. I mean, your silencer's only going to stick out, you know, 1 inch less, so I got to have that. Well, you know, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. But in my opinion, it's a big waste of money. You got to buy the new rifle. You got to buy the new cartridge as soon as it comes available. Then you got to buy new magazines. Then you got to buy, and it just goes on and on. Now today, I know a lot of people are fascinated with making these barrel lengths shorter and shorter and shorter. I've heard one guy say that his favorite barrel length for the 5.56 is 10.5 inches. Okay. That's fine. But what's the maximum effective range? 150 meters, 150 yards, 200 yards, maybe. So the shorter you go take that barrel length with the 5.56, the shorter your maximum effective range is. That's just the way it works, because you're reducing muzzle velocity. The shorter barrel you have, the less muzzle velocity is, and that means the less your maximum effective range is. So if you, I mean, I don't care, you can have an AR with 5.56 with a 9-inch barrel, but I mean, what are you doing? You're not going to shoot past 50 yards? That's your plan for shit hits the fan? So it's something that I think we need to think about. You know, what are we doing? Oh yeah, it's cool and it's awesome and all that kind of good stuff, but it doesn't make any sense. And I would say, because this is what I do, if you want an AR with a shorter barrel because it's lighter and easy to maneuver, etc., 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 then you need to move to 300 blackout. And the reason I say you need to move to 300 blackout is because 300 blackout with a 10.5-inch barrel is a 300-yard gun. 300 blackout has the same characteristics as an AK-47, the 7.62 Russian. It has the same characteristics, so you're going to get the maximum effective range is 300 yards. And there's some benefits. The first benefit is you have the same bolt carrier group. The second benefit is you're using the same magazines. And the third benefit is called silence to violence. Silence to violence. So with a 10.5-inch barrel firing 300 blackout, I can have one magazine full of subsonic ammunition using a suppressor, and we're silent. The problem is the maximum effective range for that combination, because of the projectile or because of the cartridge, the subsonic cartridge, is about 50 meters. However, I can change magazines to 125 grain supersonic cartridge, and my range goes back to 300 yards. So I don't see any reason for the 6.8 SPC. Right? It's like, why did the Army spend all this money on when they had the answer right in front of them? Right? And that's what the Marine Corps did. They just extended the barrel. Well, they did develop they did choose a new rifle. I don't know about why or the reasons, and I don't care about that kind of stuff. But they chose a new rifle. However, they stayed with the 5.56 and they increased the barrel length. So, if you're one of those guys that thinks it's, you have an AR shooting 5.56 and you have a 10.5-inch barrel, and you think you're golden because you can hit targets at 300 meters, at 400 meters, at 500 meters. That's all about marksmanship. The question is, are you going to achieve an effective hit? Just because that bullet punches holes in papers and you can ring the gong or ring the steel, that doesn't mean you're going to get an effective hit downrange. Yeah, you can hit it, but is the dude going to get up and walk off? That's the question, because that's not what you want to see. And my point here is, if you have an AR shooting 5.56 from a 10.5-inch barrel, your maximum effective range is not 300 meters. It is not 300 meters. It is less. So I'm hoping that this is something that piques your brain, makes you think about it a little bit. If you want a short-barreled AR, then I suggest you go into the 300 blackout. If you're really worried about the effectiveness of the 5.56 being shot from your rifle, then you need a rifle with a 16-inch barrel. That is the optimum barrel length for the 5.56. It's compact enough for it to be maneuverable. It weighs less, but you can still achieve range if it's required. So hopefully that gives you something to think about. I hope you have a blessed day.